Hello, friends, and welcome back to 20 Questions With. For those of you who are new here, this is my way of introducing you to other costumers and costubers by asking them 20 silly questions. Today, we are talking to Constance MacKenzie. Welcome to my channel, Constance.
Hello, and it's good morning here, but it's not where you are, is it?
It is not. It's 11 o'clock at night. Constance lives in England, and I live on the west coast of the United States, so yeah. We always have chats at the weirdest hours. So Constance, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel and what you do for a living and all that kind of stuff? Like what kind of costuming you're into, blah, blah, blah.
Right, yes, hello. I am a costume maker. I do it professionally for my job, so it's mostly for film and TV. And I also have, I'm also very interested in historical costume, which I make as a combination of for other people, for myself, and also the experimentation of like, right, how does this work? So some of what I make is purely experimental. And the rest of the time, as making my own clothes to exactly what I want, really.
Excellent. How would you describe your style?
I once called it a sort of Edwardian adventurous crossed with librarian chic. I quite like that.
Okay. I call you a suffragette witch.
Yeah, my father once said vampire suffragettes. So yes, it's like crossing over with the gothy, yeah.
Yeah. You've stopped being goth, though.
I have stopped being goth. I have far too much brown to be a goth anymore.
Constance, what is your favorite color?
Brown.
Brown. Constance is the only person I've ever met who has said brown, and I'm like, good on you for like knowing yourself and just running with it.
Yeah, it just sort of started, and I thought, oh well, this is obviously a trend appearing here, so yeah. I'll keep going with it, and it's working very well for me.
I'm wearing my favorite color also.
And you've got your other glorious favorite color in the background.
Yeah, that's my actual favorite color. Man, I love that color. Nice.
I realised what I was also going to say is I do have a costume stroke sewing YouTube channel, but it's a little bit dead at the moment because I'm working from home, but I am working on a job, so it's going to have to wait a little bit till my time is my own again. But I have plans. Yeah,
her channel is actually really awesome. She does a lot of like very historical technique kind of things on her channel, and they are sort of long format, which is wonderful because you really get to like sit and watch it and like absorb it and learn from it. And she talks you through it like thoroughly, which is lovely. And they come out whenever Constance wants them to come out.
And they're quite often mending related because I like making things last. So if you've got something that needs fixing and you want it to keep going and have a fruitful life, I'm all there for that. Yes.
Yeah, I love your channel. It's great. All right, 20 questions. This one, I picked a whole bunch of these like specifically for you. So for those of you who don't know, I have a list of like 120 something questions, and I pick out the 20 that I think are sort of best for that person.
No, I wasn't sure what your technique was or whether it was just out of a hat. Excellent.
I mean, I do some that are like sort of just random, and some are meant to challenge you and some are meant like to be softballs to you. So here's a softball. Weirdest thing you've ever had to do on a job?
Why not? I think of any of them now. Well, usually I'm like, oh God, this week we had to do this.
That's always the way it is.
It's the one that's coming to mind is going straight back to theatre, which was a modern written play, but it was about Old Testament sort of stuff. It was a retelling of the King David story, and it was just one of those shows that if they had it, they contained it. So it had water, nudity, fake blood, and quick changes, and it was just running around backstage dealing with all of those things, sometimes all at the same time, it felt like. And another play that I worked on at the same theatre, we did a play version of something that's normally only done on the radio. So it was 9 actors, but over, I want to say like nearly 60 characters.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes they had 3 layers of costume on that they would just then take off and fling at me, and then they'd rush back on and do the next bit, and then like reveal something else. And I had to be working backstage on that one, and it was always a case of, right, now they've taken that character off, but now that needs to be at the front of the stage, for them to put it back on to re-enter there. And there was me and a stage manager who would just be running past each other holding costumes or props the whole time.
That sounds really hot for them to be like under those lights with that many layers of clothing on. But maybe like now that I've seen Abby's video on like the more clothes you wear, the less hot you are, then
I think
maybe.
you've got the level of performing thrown in there as well. So it was interesting working with the actors because some of them had like a detailed list that they were going from to start with. But the chap who had the most, who had 20 costume changes in the first act.
Whoa.
Now they were 20 different costumes, but he had to be 20 different people, 20 different appearances, where sometimes they were the same person. And he was like, I haven't got time to write it down, let alone look at a list to see what I'm meant to be wearing next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have somebody on the side wings going, okay, now you're this guy.
Yeah. Oh, it was quite intense. I've never been in a show where I had to go into rehearsals to rehearse with them because there was no point getting to the technical week of rehearsals and then going, right, now Constance has got to remember where everything is. I went in earlier than that and started doing it with them beforehand. Yeah.
And you kind of have to have marks too, because you have to be in the right place at the right time.
Yes.
Wow.
It was also all done with a Welsh accent. So by the end of the run, I was thinking to myself in a Welsh accent because that's all I was surrounded by.
That's amazing. Did anyone understand you?
No. So unfortunately, I didn't say anything. It's just in my head, my internal monologue switched to Welsh for some reason.
Sometimes I think in a British accent.
Do you?
Usually when I'm being silly.
I often, obviously, people that I don't hear, so like people that I look at on social media a lot, so like a lot of the American costumers, I don't know how they sound. And then when I meet them and they've got an American accent, I'm like, oh, I'd obviously been feeling their voice in my head in a completely different way. And it's interesting when people's tones and sounds don't match what you've imagined. And I imagine maybe everyone does that, although I once had a conversation with someone else and they'd never thought about it. So I thought, I don't know that.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, especially when you meet people over like a text-based situation and you have no idea what they sound like. I met someone once who I'd been not texting with, but like on a chat room situation. Yeah. And they were Australian and I had no idea.
Yeah, you don't know, do you?
And I was like, oh, sorry, what? I can't focus on you right now. Favorite flavor?
Oh, can it be chocolate and peanut butter?
Yeah.
The combination of the two. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That was easy.
Yeah.
If the animal kingdom were to elect a new monarch, what animal would you vote for and why?
The cat. So technically, they could already be ruling. I'm not quite sure.
I mean, I guess the lion is currently king, right?
Yeah.
So that's the monarch that exists now. What is the new monarch?
So what would the new monarch be? Like with everything, like my mind has gone dead. What animals are there? I'm thinking there are those birds that can imitate sounds. I mean, they're quite entertaining, isn't it?
Like parrots?
It was a particular type of bird. So it was more complicated, of the parrot family. I remember being on QI once. They played them 3 sound effects and said, "Oh yeah." And it was it might be the lyre bird because like the lyre musical instrument, not a lyre. Yeah. And they played them several sounds of what's this? And it was like a chainsaw or, a mobile phone or sort of this car is reversing noise. And they were all
yeah. I remember that episode. It's funny. I think I was in Dublin and I had all this time to kill because I was there on work and I watched like 100 episodes of QI in a week. And that was one of them. That's funny. Like,
I've also done the weekend of just watching QI episodes. It's a very good way to pass the time.
I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows. What fictional character do you identify the most with and why?
I really like the character of, I've talked about her before, Mary Russell in Laurie R. King's books, but I don't know if I really identify with her because she's described as tall, blonde, and can pass as a man quite easily. So I'm none of those things.
Maybe you're in your heart, that's who you are.
But she's definitely one of my favourites. Who else? Her and Tiffany Aching of the Discworld series, I think, which is a witch and a woman from the 20s, so that's probably quite a good combination.
A suffragette witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably any of the witches out of the Discworld series would probably be, who I identify with. That sort of mind. Yeah.
Okay. Someday I'm going to have to answer all these questions and I'm going to be like, dude, I don't know. What food do you love that a lot of people might find a little odd? Picked specifically for you, madam.
Have you got something in mind?
No, you're just always making like super interesting things. And I'm like, what does that even taste like?
Oh, I don't think any of the food I eat is particularly odd.
I know. That's why this question is great.
I don't think any of it's unusual. I make a lot of curry, but they're probably quite anglicized curries, really. I think they're, so maybe as being not like a traditional curry or taste, maybe because they're anglicized, but they're not as anglicized as like the whole, chicken tikka masala, which is made up for English palates and doesn't really exist.
Tikka masala is great, but man, butter chicken is the one. Like that's
the one for you.
What?
Is that the one for you? Is that?
Yeah, it's also like a British.
It's the British one, yeah.
Yeah. And you're just like, what did you even do to this poor Indian food? But it is so good.
Oh, I know what I really like pickled eggs, and most people just go, no, take away from me, and I love them. I happily would have one as a snack at any time. Yeah.
Okay, so next time we're together, we're having what? Canned gin and tonic.
Canned gin and tonic, yep.
Pickled eggs.
Yes.
And we had one other thing that I forgot what it was.
Oh.
There was something else that I was like, yeah, we gotta try that.
There wasn't there? That might come back to us, yeah.
Yeah, we'll think about it. Okay, when someone finds out what you do or where you're from, what question do they always ask you?
If it's what you do you meet anyone famous? And the answer is usually no. I can work on a whole job and never meet anyone who is starring in it in any way sometimes.
You did text me once, like, telling me about Vin Diesel.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't meet him. That was something to do with his T-shirts, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, can you lick him for me, please?
That was on the most unusual Constance job, wasn't it? My 2 weeks on Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? You're, like, modifying jeans and T-shirts. And I'm like, oh, okay. How glorious.
Yeah. And that hasn't come out, so technically I still shouldn't talk about it, but I think at this stage nobody cares.
Also, it was supposed to have come out by now, so everybody knows it exists.
Yes.
Also, will there ever be a time when there's not a next Fast and Furious
film coming out?
Yeah. Vin Diesel makes way too much money off this. Do you know that he like personally financed like
I didn't know that until you mentioned it, which explains a lot.
Yeah, but they do so well and he makes so much money on them that like I'm like, good on you, sir. Good investment.
It's also introduced me to the whole meme of the fact that their gearboxes never run out of gears, having never actually watched one of their films.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're only good and they get increasingly actually better as they go along, but you can't count, like there's all these auxiliary movies now that are coming out, like there was Hobbs and Shaw. Man, I like looking at Hobbs and I like looking at Shaw, but dude, no.
Is it like the every odd number Star Trek film is awful? Is it like that?
No, I think it's just like the normal Fast and Furiouses are okay, except 2, which was Tokyo Drift. That was garbage because everybody else wasn't in it. But the rest of them like are pretty good. Like I love them. Like they're my guilty pleasure for sure. But Hobbs and Shaw had this thing where like 6 cars linked up together by like the car itself would like eject a chain that would wrap around the tailpipe of another car or something. And then they all connected up and then a helicopter pulled them all off a cliff except the very last car's last 2 wheels were still on the cliff as they went around the cliff. And then they came back and they landed and somehow they magically disconnected. And I was like, no. Like when they threw cars out of an airplane with parachutes on them, dropped the cars, hit the ground and kept driving, I was like, yes. But that thing, I was like, no. Nuh-uh. That's not a thing. They're just so ridiculous. I love it. And in the dialogue writes itself. Like I can literally sit there and like say the next line and then the guy will say it, having never seen the movie. Like
they follow a formula, but it clearly works for them.
Yeah, they live their lives a quarter mile at a time. Yeah, for sure. All right, so piggybacking on that last one, who is the most interesting person you've ever met and talked with? Your partner is downstairs going, she better be saying me. No.
Well, I find Luca fascinating once he starts talking. Yeah.
Luca is fascinating. How do you say his last name?
I'll get it wrong.
Don't ask me that.
Yeah. But that will be wrong.
I'm like, Luca Costa. That's what we're calling him.
He did say that his name is hard for Italians to spell, so it's. I do like it when people say their surname and they go, oh, it's. I listened to a podcast the other day, and the guest introduced, they were introduced by the host, and the guest went, "You didn't say my name right," but then every day my name is a challenge even to me. So.
Yeah.
I find him fascinating.
He is fascinating.
Hours, but I feel probably there should be more to it than that.
Who was I listening to? Oh, I was watching that show with that guy who's funny in England, Graham Norton, the other day, and he had on Eddie Redmayne, and Eddie Redmayne was on Graham Norton just talking about how he got fitted for a corset, and he was like, and then this guy called Luca came out, and he was like, darling, I never eat. You shouldn't be eating, or something at him, and I was like, he's talking about Luca.
And I think, as Luca will point out, it wasn't that he said he never eat, it was just he times when he eats and when he gets dressed so that he's comfortable. But, it's the corset thing, so no one listens to that bit.
Fun fact, the only time I've ever talked to Luca, the only thing I said was, hey, I have a drinking game about you. And he was like, what? And I'm like, every time you say breasts, I drink, because he's on those foundations calls and he says breasts all the time, like all the time. So you can get completely trashed on a foundations call if you want to, having that drinking game. And he was like, and I'm like, oh no, I made Luca feel uncomfortable. It was just a silly American joke. I'll just shut up and hide in a corner now. Cool.
I was listening to a podcast last night that has then led me to read a book, or to buy a book rather, and it was about two sisters in the Second World War, one who worked as a code breaker and one that also worked with ciphers. And it was interesting because they were on the Guilty Feminist podcast, which is usually incredibly, left wing and right on, and correct pronouns and saying the right names and the right words and getting it right and always learning. So interviewing two ladies in their 90s who were terribly, terribly posh was a little bit outside of their usual remit. But these women were fascinating because they'd grown up in a time when the world wasn't as they'd expected, and they went on to do things that, as they both said, they never would have done because their family said, no, boys are for educating, we don't send the girls to university. And one of them, after the Second World War, because of being ex-forces, had the chance to go to, and she went to St Andrews in Scotland, Oxford and Harvard.
Wow.
All on an ex-services grant.
Wow.
And she said, if I hadn't done what I'd done, I would never have done that, because my family was like, no, your brother's going to university, but there's no point in educating you. Yeah. And her other sister had been like, I want to go abroad. As soon as she joined up, she was a bit younger, she was like, I want to go abroad. And again, her mother was like, I've already got my husband in a prisoner of war camp, your sister's somewhere else, I'm bringing up your brother and you want to go abroad? No. And she was like, no, I want to go. And she did.
That's amazing.
And I listened to them and I thought it was really interesting, because they also then interviewed them about their later life and what they did. And one of them had worked with refugees, the one that wanted to go abroad. That was very much, she carried on working in refugee camps after the Second World War. And the Guilty Feminist podcast does a lot of work with the refugee camps all over the world now. So they were comparing the two. So yes, even though they started off sounding terribly, terribly nice, ladies with the stiff upper lip and who would never, they were fascinating. Yeah, that led me to buy their book, because I thought I really want to read more about them.
What's the book called?
I think it was called Code Breaking Sisters, or Sisters That Code Break. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
They both worked with codes and ciphers. Yeah.
I'll check that out. I wonder if there's an audiobook.
Probably.
Do you have a stupid human trick? And if so, what is it?
A stupid human trick?
Yeah. So like, I can whinny like a horse. I'm not doing it.
No, fair enough. No, I don't think I have anything like that.
No stupid human trick. Okay.
No.
All right. What fashion trend needs to be brought back?
Oh, I normally say the ruff, but that would be my first. I would be fascinated if something like the ruff came back. Obviously, it has in history had revivals, and it gets used as a signifier all the time, mostly to say Shakespeare, or the whole of the 16th century.
It sounds hot, though.
I don't think it would be that fun, really.
Yeah.
But I find them fascinating, and they're no sillier than other things we do for fashion.
I mean that if you're gonna go there, you should go to the Queen Elizabeth like
Oh,
full
the big thing at the back like that. Yeah.
whatever that thing is, like just but like vampired out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, we have the option to wear whatever we want now, so
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be brought back. What would you have?
Bustle. Come on.
Of course.
For someone with a flat butt, like a bustle is like, yeah, that's the stuff. A bustle can make any person look banging. That is what I love about a bustle. Like, it doesn't matter what size or shape you are. You can be huge. You can be super tiny. Bustles look good on everybody. I've literally never seen anyone who a bustle did not flatter. What was something you thought would be easy until you tried it?
Anything with a computer. Well, no, I don't think I ever thought they'd be easy.
You say this, but you figured out how to edit your videos really fast, and you do it better than I do.
Oh, no.
Yeah, actually. You have like proper like intro things and stuff, and yeah, you do it really well.
If you did that, you would also equally get it, and you wouldn't have the half an hour going, where
That's because I would just look it up on YouTube and be like,
I try looking it up on YouTube, and my computer will never relate exactly to the one on the video, even though it does. It's just me not being able to find it. Is it Keanu?
Yeah, of course. Do you know that he's pair bonded to me, I think? I think they're supposed to do it with other cats, but I think he does it with me because, like, if he's downstairs, he will cry. And then I'll call to him. I'll be like, I'm up here. And then you'll hear him go, Krah! And then he'll come running up the stairs super fast and, like, come in for cuddles. He can't not be in the same room as me. He freaks out. Yeah, he's purring. He's such a good boy.
Hello, Keanu. Yes, this is what I should be now. I am fine.
Go do a perimeter sweep. Okay. Now I fur up on my face. Okay.
What about you? What did you think would be easy?
Like almost everything. What did I think would be easy until I tried it? Like sewing stuff.
It's amazing how difficult it can be, isn't it? Yeah.
It's way harder than you think it's going to be. But it's also, it's not really hard. It's just tedious. But like tedium is hard for me because I get like, really about stuff. So yeah, I think sewing stuff would be probably like top of my list, even though I've been doing it forever. Like every single new thing I encounter is definitely like, wait, you want me to what? Like when I saw that shirt that you made with the like, is it red in the where you're like connecting the two pieces with like thread, but there's like a slit in the middle.
Yeah, insertion stitch. Oh, I like that.
It's so beautiful. Now he needs out.
Of course. Oh, I love doing that. But yes, it has to be.
Yeah. Right. So like that thing, I just looked at it and was like, I don't know if I would have the patience to ever do that. Like that looks, it's not really, it's difficult for me because I'm impatient. Right?
I have infinite patience for that. The handwork that has to be correct. Sometimes getting things very precise on a machine, I'm a bit hit and miss at that. That's something that I always think, come on, you know how to do this. You should be able to do this. Whereas there are other people that can do anything by a machine. Their brain will just work it out. Like, well, if I machine along there, and there, turn that through, pull that out, ta-da, it will be a complete perfect item, and it will look untouched.
Right.
I would be much more. If I do that bit by hand, then we'll have achieved that. I think there's definitely that sort of brain. There's a 3-dimensional way of thinking. I used to work with a lady, I've probably mentioned her before, who had been a flat machinist for a lot of her life. So, she very rarely made anything that wasn't, the standard 5/8 of an inch seam allowance or 1/2 inch seam allowance and just put it all together. But if you gave her a shape to cover in fabric, she obviously could just see it. She could take a flat piece of fabric, the garment that needed covering. So she was very good for like furnishing or pocket shapes. And she could just obviously see, well, if I seam there, and there, and then to turn it all through, and she would be able to like cover in something. So if you needed a chair that needed covering, or we needed some very 3-dimensional pockets once that would contain, I think they probably to contain mic packs and something else within a costume. and she could just do it. Yeah, and I was like, my brain doesn't do that. Mine would be take the flat piece of fabric, take the garment, lay it on top, and like drape.
And my way would be like, I wonder if anyone's made a pattern for this. And then I can go look on the internet. Because I'm like, I'm just going to pay someone to do this.
But that's 3 different approaches to the same thing. And that just sums up sewing in every way, doesn't it? It's,
absolutely.
There's a minimum of 3 different approaches to everything. Yeah.
And I think like some things are easier than you think they're going to be too. Like, honestly, I thought corsets were way easier than I expected them to be, right? So like, it goes both ways. Precision
and pattern shape, isn't it, really, for a corset? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really just a bunch of parallel lines that you have to sew. And then you slide some things between things, and then you bind it, and it's not really that complicated. It's time consuming and tedious, but it's not complicated. Yeah.
The other thing I did think of was I, despite the fact I have watched numerous videos, had several people show me and read several books, I can still only crochet in straight lines.
Oh yeah, so can I. That's it. Yeah.
Or circles that will never quite lie flat unless I try really, really hard. Yeah.
The other thing that was really much harder than I thought it was going to be is scuba diving.
Oof, I don't even try that.
Look at those people on TV and they're just like, I'm scuba diving. This is awesome. And I did it, and I was down there. There's like all kinds of math you have to do. You have a watch beeping at you. I'm running through my oxygen super fast because now I'm hyperventilating. Like, I am a surface dwelling monkey. Like, I like to snorkel because I don't have to go under, and I don't have to worry about any math while I'm like slightly panicking about my life being in danger because I am not on top of the food chain here.
No. Yeah. I don't think I'd even consider that. No, you're going to struggle to get anything out of me that's not sewing because my world doesn't exist much beyond sewing. I really one day should get another hobby.
But that's why you're so good at it.
I don't know about that. It's the only thing I think about. Well, no, not entirely. I do like my food as well.
Yeah, you eat. I watch you make stuff. You make things, though. That's what you do, is you make things. Yeah. Okay, what is the worst piece of advice you've ever been given? I'm waiting for someone to go, just do the thing. And then I burn my house down.
Yeah, it's gone. I mean, I can think of things, but they'd probably be being a bit that would just be me venting some personal feelings about some people. I don't think that would actually count as worst.
Okay, like what?
Well, going back to many years ago, you'll never amount to anything because of not going to school.
That is a worst piece of advice.
I had that quite a lot. That was just normal for a certain amount of time.
No, that's garbage advice. 100%. That is almost the worst piece of advice.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like a statement, but like, just, you're never going to amount to anything, so don't even try. Garbage.
Well, I don't even try. Just they were like, well, how will you be able to get by in life if that's how you've been brought up? Another unhelpful thing is like in the days when people didn't even know about home education, it was like, oh, well, your parents will go to prison for that. It's like, oh, that's a great thing to say to a child, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow. People have,
and that really sticks in my mind, and I don't know whether did it happen once or did it happen lots? I don't know, but it feels like it happened a lot. Maybe it only happened once. But
it doesn't matter. Like, nobody should say that to you, no matter what.
Not really, no.
Yeah. Name one thing still on your bucket list. This is where you say go to Disneyland with Noelle. Although we're not going to Disneyland anytime soon.
We're not going anywhere, are we?
This is the only way I'm going to see you for quite some time.
The reality of that is really just kicking in for me at the moment. I've been fine. I've just been plugging along, going, it's all right. I'm at home. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
And now the reality is like, oh.
Yeah. Same.
Bucket list. I still would. Oh well, I will come to Disneyland with you one day because I'm going to have to understand why you go and what you do.
No, you're going to be like, Noelle, this is too expensive. Come on now.
Oh well, I'll be like that as well. But that's my reaction to everything.
I'm just going to buy you a ticket, and then buy all your food, so you don't know how much it costs, so you can't even throw that at me. And you're going to be like, I had the most magical day. You're gonna have Peter Pan ears and the whole nine.
I'm not. I always feel this is a very terrible lack of ambition. As I don't have a list of things I should do. Obviously, if it came along and was suggested, then yes, I would do it. I'm not very good at thinking about that.
Places you want to go?
No, and I'm not like that. No. Yeah. I'm a bit of a repetitive person because I do the things that have been done before because it's safe and you know what that is. I have just reread a Mary Russell book where she goes to San Francisco and I was like, I would like to go there again. So that could easily work.
I live super close to there.
Exactly. So that could work, and because it was when the book's set in 1923, so it's before the Golden Gate Bridge was built. And so I was trying to imagine, when I went there before, I went to a lot of the places in the book that are mentioned, because then the book also relates to what happened in the 1906 earthquake.
So for sure. I bet you it smells like urine a lot more than it did in that book.
Oh, I don't know. and I visited London enough that I probably wouldn't notice.
I don't think London smells bad.
Well, it does the bits I go to, clearly.
Okay. Fair enough.
Lived in the more ordinary bits of London, and yeah.
I am in the bougie section of London most of the time, so that's fair.
Yeah, the place where I stay quite a lot is definitely the actual London experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially also because mine would be sitting at the bus stop at like 5 in the morning to go to work while everyone else is pouring out of a club and having a lovely time. Yeah.
Wait, they can stay open that late? Because I thought the bars all closed at like midnight.
I've never worked this one out, but yes, I've been so often in my life. I've been the person sitting at the bus stop going to work, and everyone else is on their way home having had a very nice time.
Huh? I wonder where they're going. Because like, I've been in bars here are open till 2 a.m. And so I've been in a bar at like 11:30, and they're like last call, and I'm like, como say what? What are you doing? Yeah. Like,
I mean, that does depend on what and where, but yeah, because I presume it's nightclubs have different licenses.
Oh yeah, probably.
I don't know how you'd find those, yeah, but they're there.
I've never been clubbing in London. I'm not that cool.
No, nor have I.
We should go clubbing in London. We'd be like, yeah, we're tired. Yeah. Actually, I'm never awake after like 10 p.m. in London because like I barely make it through theater performances because
you must be on a different body clock when you get there again. Yeah.
It's like when we go to that ball, like everyone's like, oh, we can come back home after the ball and we can stay up and make all these things. I'm like, guys, if that ball is anywhere near when I land in London, like I'm going to be out like before that ball even starts. Like the first day, it's not even the first day. The second day I'm there, 7 p.m. I'm out. And then I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm like, I am so hungry.
That could be me any morning, actually.
I bring snacks because like the restaurants in the hotels aren't even open at that hour when I wake up because my clock gets super screwed up. Like I'm so bad at it.
I not answer that particularly well because I don't know there are probably lots of things I should do. I was watching my partner was watching a documentary about ships, and they were looking at the Vasa, which is I think it was a 17th century ship that sank in Sweden, and they rescued it, and it's in a museum, and it looks incredible. So he wants to go to that in Stockholm.
Yep.
Then I would go there because they have some costume there as well, and it's got a Royal Armouries, the Swedish Royal Armouries. So I would love to go there and see that. And then there is a cathedral at Uppsala, which has 3 16th century men's suits that are very famous because they're from the Stura family, and they're in the Janet Arnold book, and I would really like to go there because I would like to see them. And I think you have to get a train to it's easy to get to via a train. Somebody told me, I thought, well, that would be interesting, a train journey in Sweden and then some 16th century costume at the end of it. So that is definitely on my list of things to do. So it's still something related.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all good. If you had to use a fake name, what fake name would you make up?
It was a joke on the radio, but I think I also thought it'd be quite a good steampunk name, and it was Miss Daisy Wheel Printer.
Miss Daisy Wheel Printer?
Yeah, because a wheel printer, the old-fashioned way that things used to print. And it was a joke about, I think, Merchant Ivory films on the radio, and I just thought that's a brilliant name, Miss Daisy Wheel Printer.
That is a nice name. I like Daisy. That's a great name. What is the nicest compliment you've ever received?
don't like people saying nice things.
I know.
I don't know what to do.
Remember when I said I had questions that were going to challenge you?
I suppose you're doing well if someone thinks you're not really there. And they're like, "Are you real?" That's quite a good one.
That's a hell of a question. Are you real?
Are you real? No, well, I have. Oh, you know, if someone thought I'd actually travelled in time, I'd be pleased with that one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think a lot of people think that.
And then something I really liked, I've probably said this before, but it really made me smile, was buying a cup of coffee on the train platform where I live. And the man said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't have a cup that matches your outfit." And I really liked that. Because my aim in life is to one day find a travel cup that doesn't look glaringly hideous, you know, and blends in. But that's quite hard. I have experimented and not found anything yet.
Huh. Yeah, because if you made a cup that kind of went with your outfit, it would definitely be like a heavy.
Exactly, that's the thing. You know, you can find something absolutely stunningly beautiful, and it's either really, really heavy, takes up a lot of space in your handbag, or is breakable. That's sort of or a combination of all three. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I don't go anywhere anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Fine.
Many of my needs have vanished.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Can I find ethically sustainable tights? No, doesn't matter. I don't go anywhere anymore.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You're making the plague work for you. How superstitious are you?
Probably terribly, actually, but not through any organised superstition. It's just, oh gosh, I mustn't say that. Oh, I mustn't do that. Oh, if I.
So you're British, is what you're saying?
Oh, is that just being normal?
Yeah.
So it's not down to any organised religion. I haven't got that, but obviously, I don't know, if you tripped over and didn't get on a train, you'd think, oh well, obviously I wasn't meant to get on that train, or I do that quite a lot, that sort of thing. You know, if you miss something, you think, oh god, what will have happened if I obviously wasn't meant to get on there, something terrible would have happened if I got on there. I think like that, probably too much.
Yeah, okay.
Is that bring British again, or is that
no, that's like a superstition sort of level thing. It's also like a fate thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I am scared of the chick in the mirror.
Oh, we've talked about that, yeah. Oh, I'm scared of absolutely everything supernatural or is that where people say made up, you know. Listen to hours and hours of true crime, most of the time quite content, happy with that.
Yeah.
Something made up and to make you go jump, no, appalling, you know. Yeah.
Well, related, if you could commit any crime and get away with it, what would you choose and why? I was like, this is the perfect question for Constance.
Really? If I could commit a crime.
So for those of you who don't know, Constance is obsessed with true crime podcasts. Like, it's basically like probably a quarter of all the things that you tell me about.
Yes. And I mostly listen to one very specific one, which is just the serial killer ones, which is quite unpleasant. But no, I do like mysteries as well. I
love a good mystery.
Yeah. I'm going to end up repeating somebody else's thing. It was, and this relates to other stuff I've been listening to again, which is a podcast that does questions interspersed into it. Some of them conversational, some of them strange, some of them silly. And the one that he's been asking recently is, if you could have any artifact, piece of art, or thing from any art gallery of the world, what would you have? It's just been decided that you could have it. There's no repercussions. They've just decided you can have it.
Wow.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sometimes people ask for really reasonable things. They say, "Oh, a painting that technically, in a way, you could buy if." And sometimes people go completely outlandish.
What is the most outlandish one? Or what's an example of an outlandish one?
Well, like the Elgin marbles would be a bit tricky, you know. It's.
Oh, yeah, I want the T-Rex statue in the Chicago Field Museum.
That's a good one, yeah. So yeah, he asked a comedian called Sindhu V, and she said because she's Indian but lives in the UK, and she said that she would have the Kohinoor diamond and she would return it to India. And I listened to somebody else talking about the Kohinoor diamond in another factor, and I just thought, yeah, that needs to go back to India. So
if you could commit any crime and get away with it, you would steal that back and give it back to India?
Yeah, and she had a really good plan as well for how it could be on display. She said, obviously, once I've got it, I can't just have it around the house. So I'd have to go back to India. And then I'd have it on display. So I'm just copying hers, but she just had it so worked out. I like someone that's got something worked out. And she was like, I'd have it on display in India for a couple of years, and the money from that could go into, just educating girls. And I was like, yeah, that seems like a solid plan.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That is just copying her. Yeah. And then coincidentally, I listened to another podcast talking about the British in the 19th century and the Raj and in India and colonialism, and that also the diamond came up, and I was like, yeah, that's just reinforcing that needs to go back.
Okay, people are going to ask me in the comments down below, so I need you to tell us what the 2 names of these podcasts are.
The first one is Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast.
Okay.
So he's a comedian who then interviews other people. It started off as other comedians, and then it moved on to people that he was interested in.
And for Americans, Leicester is spelled Leicester.
Oh yeah, I can't even spell it, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I will put a warning on that. He takes a little getting used to.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a certain level of being a comedian. Are you being yourself? Are you being a character?
Right.
And he does like to say things to be controversial. The first time I listened, because he's interviewed hundreds of people, and you sort of pick out the people that you've heard of to start with. But sometimes there are things he says that call back to earlier ones, so then you go back to listening to earlier ones. So some of the stuff he says will definitely rub people up the wrong way. But then once you get to know it and know that some of it is him as his persona as well as him. So I just feel that don't just jump in thinking this will be cozy.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of language and all sorts going on, but that's quite entertaining. And the other one, the one I'm always listening to, was the Guilty Feminist podcast.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Which is where the ladies, the Code Breaking Sisters, were on as well.
Okay. So it has just occurred to me that the thing next to you is a window. I have only ever talked to you on video at night, so that's just a big black hole normally.
Yes. Yeah, the sun's coming up there, so that's why I'm getting that. And there is actually sun today as well. So
it's a nice day in England.
Yeah.
What is the best conspiracy theory that you know?
Have you got one? While I think, have you got?
I don't know. Kate said the flat Earth one, and I'm like, that one's dumb because like you can see it. Like you can physically see the Earth. You don't even have to get in a plane. You can see it.
I didn't know that was a conspiracy theory. I thought that was just what some people believe. So, but I mean that relates to all of them, doesn't it?
I mean, I like Roswell.
All right, Roswell. I'm going to repeat another one off a podcast. It's a good one though. It's the reason the Titanic sank is because so many time travelers visited it overbalanced.
So my husband just told me one that was like legitimate, like in some science magazine kind of situation, that they were saying like that the iceberg, well, it was dumb. It was badly titled because it was like the iceberg didn't actually sink the Titanic. It was that there was a massive solar flare at that moment, and it made everybody's like instruments go off, and they didn't know about solar flares then. No. So their instruments were all off, and the Carpathia's instruments were all off too, which is why it took so long for them to get back or whatever. But like, I'm like, yeah, but there's a guy in a crow's nest who still looked and saw the the iceberg and went, hey, yo, iceberg, like too late, because like he was on break or something and shouldn't have been, or whatever the deal is. So I'm like, that's not really true that that's actually a conspiracy theory, because it's not like the iceberg didn't, like the iceberg still sunk the ship. It's just like there was a solar flare that screwed it. I'm like, really science, really? So yeah.
So really, I think the time travelers all landing there to have a look was probably more troublesome. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume so. I'd probably go have a look if I could. I would want to meet unsinkable Molly Brown.
That would be good.
She seems like a handful. I'm into handfuls. If aliens landed on Earth tomorrow and offered to take you home with them, would you go?
It would depend on the alien. If it was Doctor Who, then yes.
Okay. That's cheating because you know you can get back.
It's not guaranteed.
Yeah, that's true also.
Yes, I think I would.
Yeah?
I would like to go to space. That could have tied into the bucket list, but it's
Yeah.
a bit unlikely.
Yeah, okay. I was talking to, I think, Morgan about this, about space travel, and I was like, no. Remember when I said I'm a surface dweller? I'm a surface dweller. I think if I got up there and looked at the little marble, I would puke. I would just freak out. That's surprising, actually, because I'm usually pretty brave about stuff. But
I couldn't say you love travel. That's just an extension.
But I hate being in the plane. Like I have like Xanax pills, and I don't take them. I just hold on to the bottle, knowing I can.
Knowing that you can, very, very wise.
But I actually hate being in the plane, and the worst part of the trip is when you've landed and you're on the ground and they're still not letting you out of the stupid metal tube. I have actually ripped the tray table in front of me off of the hinges because I was so stressed out because they kept us on the runway for 2 hours after we landed. And I was just like, I need to get out of this plane right now. So.
Yeah, understandable.
You can have an unlimited supply of one thing for the rest of your life. What is it? Sushi, Scotch tape, pins, what? You're like, linen.
It's nice. An unlimited supply of something for the rest of my life.
Anything. Let's just not say money, but...
No, that hadn't occurred to me.
That was the first thing I went for. I'm like, cash. I can do a lot with that.
You know what? I've very nearly, this is a useless use of that wish completely, but an unheard of thing. I've almost run out of black thread in my workroom, and I was like, I'm going to have to go out and get some. And I was like, this is just not what I need right now.
Someone else recently told me that they were out of black thread and they had to wait for more to come, and so they were stalled. And I was like, how could you run out of black thread? Like every single time I go or order anything.
I didn't think it was possible, and I'm doing work from home at the moment, so stuff's arriving and stuff's going, and generally everything I need arrives with it. Obviously, sometimes I supplement it from what I've got here. And if it's specific colours, I'm sending those threads back. But so much black thread has come here with work because, it's a staple.
Yeah.
And I've sent some of it back, but I didn't think I could actually run out. And I've had them on the overlocker, and I've had them on the 2 machines. And now I'm down to the one reel left, and I'm moving it between them.
Wow.
I mean, I've got black linen thread, black silk thread. I've got other black threads, but not the one I just need to finish the job. So yeah, I'm going to make some ties today, and then I will probably run out, and I will have to go and buy some more.
Wow.
I didn't think this was possible either. I really didn't. I was putting it on the overlocker and running it through, going, no, it'll be absolutely fine. I'll have more. No, I've even used up like an old reel. I even got I'll show you.
Reels are spools for people who don't speak British. They don't call them spools, they call them reels.
So I had to do a little bit of overlocking yesterday, and I got this out, which is I think it's probably cotton, but it's a very elderly.
Oh yeah.
And I put that on the overlocker. It doesn't. But I just needed, I'd run out of another thread. I was like, oh, I'll just put that on, but it's not. It doesn't run through very well.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I'm down to that level of going, right, what's in the antique box that normally I don't use, that I just keep because they're nice. And I don't think I've ever got to this stage before.
Wow. COVID-19's teaching us new things.
Yeah, so these are in my bin. So there's the ones that I've run out. When you just keep a couple of, like, it might be like less than a metre yard on there. I usually keep them in a little pot over there. And it's like, oh, and I've even got them out and put them on the machine and go, right, I'll just do that bit with that. So
wow.
Yeah, an unlimited supply of black thread suddenly seems like a very good idea.
Anytime I order anything on Amazon or go to Joann, I buy black silk thread and I buy black regular thread, like cotton thread. Yeah. I just buy a bunch of it because I'm like, I'll run out of it.
I was sewing late at night the other day, and I kept doing the same stitching over and over again, thinking, doesn't look right. So unpick it and do it again. still doesn't look right. I mean, it should be, it shouldn't be so visible. Started sewing in the next morning. I've been sewing with navy blue thread at night, thinking it was black. So I was like,
no.
oh, it just kept looking a bit too visible. It wasn't the right colour, but it was such a dark navy that it was only like getting up on this time of day and like really bright sunshine coming in like that. I was like, oh, that's why it didn't look right. So I had to go and replace all the obvious bits.
Oh no, that sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. All right, so Constance can have anything unlimited for the rest of her life.
And it's gone for black thread.
Black thread. I'm going with diamonds. Okay.
The other thing I do actually always seem to have is more brown shoes, but they're still not very original, is it? And that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you're at risk of ever running out of brown shoes.
No, 2 more pairs arriving later this year.
Yeah. Question number 20. There is a bonus question though. What is your favorite section of the grocery store and why?
All of it. The bakery, probably. The fresh.
That's a solid one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the what would get called, it doesn't even get called that in our supermarket because it's not very big, but when I'm working like in London, and it's obviously big supermarkets, it would be what we call the world food section. So that's only because supermarkets where I live are very small, and there might just be a little section with some noodles in, but I like one where you can have a proper wander down a couple of aisles and go, oh, I'll have this today. Yeah.
I've never even heard of that. Let's eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, the super controversial bonus question.
Oh, yes.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I think you've asked me this before.
Yeah.
And I said no.
Okay. Sticking to it.
Yep. I have given it some thought since then, and it definitely fits the description, but I would never think of it as a sandwich.
Okay. Fair enough.
You're in the yes camp, aren't you?
So I am currently in the neutral camp.
Oh, you're neutral.
Yeah. I just asked this question to rile people up. Because it seems to really matter to a lot of people. Like, they get real into it, which I think is hysterical. So, and they want to scream at me. I usually play devil's advocate on it, and I'm like, okay, in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says that hot dogs are a sandwich. But for your benefit, in the Oxford English Dictionary, a hot dog is not a sandwich.
Oh, right, okay. So
it does confuse me because that means that you don't think Subway sandwiches, which like has the word sandwich in it, is
I wouldn't count them as sandwiches, but then that's me.
And like Philly cheesesteaks and all those kind of things are not sandwiches. And I'm like, then what are they? So yeah, so that's my thing. But like, man, I gotta tell you, I had all of Germany on my case during COVID. Like, all of Germany was angry at me because they were just like, stop even talking about this. It is not a sandwich. And I'm just like, whoa, okay.
I will ask my friend Julia that. I'd be very interested by her answer. Yeah.
Prepare for a fight, man. Just start out with, my answer is no, and then say it so that she doesn't just start yelling, because that seems to be what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining me today, Constance, and thank you to everyone else out there for joining us. I will leave a list of Constance's details and accounts down below so that you can check her out and give her some love. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment below letting me know how you're doing and what you're working on and all that kind of stuff. And I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye, guys.
Bye.